Kurtis, welcome to FrightFest.
Thank you for having me.
It's your first time at the festival, is it?
Yeah, it's the first time at FrightFest. It's been a blast so far. We're excited, yeah.
You've got a lot of projects on the go, as well as Incontrol. You're producing a couple of others as well, is that right?
Yeah, we have Stillborn, which I produced, and then our company made It Stains the Sands Red. So it's been a busy festival.
Busy time, yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent. So tell me a little bit about Incontrol then, a little bit, a sort of brief synopsis for people that don't know yet.
Yeah, so Incontrol follows a couple college students that find this device that allows them to go into the minds of others and control them and experience what they're feeling without them knowing. So it basically takes all consequences out of the question. They're able to make these people do whatever they want, and eventually things start to go awry. Yeah.
Excellent, great stuff. So what kind of produced the seed of this idea? What made you sort of want to make this story?
I mean, I think that question is always in us, of like, what would it be like to be someone else and live in their shoes? And just kind of the moral question of why do we do the things that we do? So a big question is like, is it our actual intentions of us wanting to go do something with our lives or doing this, or is it just kind of a product of influences that we grew up with in education or social media or these kind of things? Yeah.
It's definitely a cool concept, and it makes you think about it. I mean, who would you, if you got to do that, you got to jump into anyone else's body right now, who would it be?
I think like a politician or something that has some sort of, and just kind of do something ridiculous. I think that'd be really fun. One of our actors kind of jumped to Donald Trump.
I was going to say, any politician in particular?
Yeah. So he was kind of talking about that. But honestly, I think just some, like even going into like a homeless person, experiencing what that would be like on the opposite end of the scale of just kind of seeing what life is like from someone else you have no idea what they're going through would be kind of interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What were the biggest challenges in making this? Because obviously, you know, for a relatively small film, it's actually quite big. It's, you know, you've got a big cast, you've got a lot of locations.
Yeah, I think we had like 24 locations in like 21 days and a cast of like 50. So it was kind of organizing all these things. We were basically shooting half the movie through with our core cast, and all of a sudden we're wrapping all of our leads. We're like, no, we have half the shoot to go with like a new set of actors almost every single day because of all the people they kind of go into. Yeah.
Was that kind of the biggest challenge for you in making this, would you say?
Yeah, a big thing was just kind of looking at, once we had our core cast played, is figuring out kind of the balance of casting people that are similar to them, that can play the inflections and kind of sell that these are the people that they're going into, because there are so many people trying to figure out who's who. Yeah.
And it's definitely a story that kind of slowly unfolds and you reveal more and more sort of towards this big ending. How much did all of your actors, and your lead actors in particular, did they know kind of as much as you when going into this?
Kind of figuring out kind of the underlying thread of what actually is going on and where the real influences lie and why they've kind of gone into this whole debacle, and kind of playing in with the actors of what we wanted to show and what we wanted to kind of building up to this ending. Yeah.
Were you ever concerned, you know, it is a movie where it got to the end and I was kind of baffled in a good way.
Right.
But yeah, like, are you ever concerned about like, oh, are people going to get this? Are people just going to be completely bemused by it?
That was a lot of discussions in early pre-production of just kind of deciding like how much do you show early on, and the balance of like giving away too much or being too subtle where it just doesn't come across, and trying to find that balance. I think we found a good balance there.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it feels like we don't get as many of these kind of cool sort of high concept sci-fi movies anymore that are more about sort of ideas than action or spectacle or something like that. I mean, is that something that you were kind of conscious of?
Yeah, I think growing up, the movies that kind of, as a kid, I was always trying to guess the twist, and I was usually trying to figure out exactly what would happen in the end of a film, and any movie that would surprise me would be something that would like really kind of get me inspired to make movies, of kind of getting psychological questions about philosophical stuff, but also in a really entertaining way.
Yeah, I mean, like story-wise, I kind of thought to begin with, it's a little bit being John Malkovich-esque,
yeah.
You know, but on a bigger scale. I mean, were there any films or stories in particular that you kind of drew on?
Being John Malkovich is a good influence. I think that we kind of veer away from, we don't do any POV stuff, we don't do any of that kind of stuff. We tried to kind of play it into more of locating like any of the technological stuff. We didn't want to go to Cronenberg, for example, of like getting into the technology. It's more about the people and why they do the things they do and the psychological effects of that.
Yeah, you know, obviously you've got this kind of machine at the center of it that is the reason for everything happening.
Right.
I mean, how much thought went into that machine, and was that kind of just an easy thing to just not focus on so much, or did you put a lot of thought into the structure of it, how it might work?
Yeah, we had a lot of designs of what it was going to look like, and in the end we kind of went for the most minimalistic approach of just kind of the focus is more on the story and our character and kind of looking through her eyes as opposed to kind of the scientific jargon. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the reaction been like so far for sort of people that you showed it to? I mean, are you excited to show it to a big audience at FrightFest?
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of how the genre community reacts to it. It's definitely, it's not a horror film, it's more of a sci-fi, so it'll be interesting kind of getting those reactions. We've had good reactions so far. We played at a couple other festivals, and we'll be playing at some more kind of horror festivals, so it's interesting to kind of play at these festivals where it's an interesting fit, but I think we're excited to see how people react to it.
Yeah, because I mean, also you're producing Stillborn, which is obviously more of a kind of fun genre piece, isn't it?
Exactly.
The more horror side of things. Yeah. I mean, where does your kind of heart lie, really? What do you love most?
I love producing horror. I love being on set with horror. Horror is so much fun. As a director, I kind of go for more of a psychological, asking questions, philosophical stuff, and sci-fi is definitely where I lie on as a director, but as a producer, horror is definitely where I've been sitting now.
Awesome. Okay, great. And finally then, what should people expect when they go in and watch your movie for the first time?
I think just a really lo-fi, fun ride is the biggest thing. It's kind of like allowing you as an audience to kind of sit through the idea of what would you do if there was no consequences? If you could go out and have a whole day of just doing whatever you like, what would you do? Yeah.